Hi, I'm glad you're here. This is Sharon from Meeedly, the world's best business-to-business meeting scheduling tool. I will be your host, guiding you through a series of advanced programming concepts simplified for easy learning and practical use. Let's jump right into it. This video is a part of a series where we explore React.js from the ground up. If you're a software engineer joining Meeedly, this video series will introduce you to the core development practices we follow. You'll learn how to structure and organize your React.js project from the ground up, apply consistent naming conventions, and use real-life React functions by building a counter app, covering everything from React fundamentals to advanced API integrations. In the previous video, we created a counter in the home page, as well as added scripts to help store and call the data locally. In this video, we will be working on the About page, where we will be creating user posts and API calls with DummyJSON. Let's get started. For this video, we will mainly be working on the About page. This means that we will be working on the about.js file. As you can see, we currently just have a function called about that is being displayed on the page. However, now we will be revamping this part just like we did for the home page. This is the new code with the updates that we will be adding to our About page. Let's start going through it. Let's first start with the imports. If you look at the imports, we already discussed a majority of the React imports because they were also used in our homepage. The only new import that we have is useCallback. UseCallback will be used to memorize a function so it doesn't get recreated on every render. Then going down, we also have imported an avatar, a like, dislike, and reply icon, which we will be using to style our page. There are different ways of actually implementing it. For this specific project, we will be demonstrating the importing of SVG icons in this project. So let's go through that really quickly. First, let's go through where these icons are from. Avatar is simply just a PNG, which is the easiest where you can just drag it into the folder and call it. If we look at our logo and user, this is where it looks like. Then, if we go back, there are also SVGs known as scalable vector graphics. The ones that we are using are from SVG Repo, a website that has a library of free open license SVG icons and vectors. You can feel free to use this website, or you can also use other SVG icon HTML that may not be specifically in this website. There are two ways that you can import and use them. The first way that we'll look at is simply just to download the SVG and import it into the page we want. Let's do the reply icon, for example. All you have to do is go into the search bar, type in what kind of icon you would like, and you will be given a lot of examples. For us, we will be using this first icon, so what you can do is click on it, download the SVG, and all you will do is just put it into your SVG folder, which I have already done. And that is the first way of how you can import an SVG. The second is where we can use a JavaScript component where we can actually have more accessibility and styling control. So we'll see that for the other two thumbs up and thumbs down icon. So we saw that one way to import the actual SVG is just to download and then put it into your folder. Now we will be looking at a second way, which we will be using as thumbs up and thumbs down for the example. So first, we're gonna do the same thing where we look for the actual icon. Once you find the icon, we will actually be using the second one for this project. Then instead of just clicking download SVG like we did before, we're actually gonna go up here and click edit vector, then copy SVG. This will give you the styling for this icon. Then we can actually go back to our JavaScript file and start editing it. We can find this in the SVG icons and then the thumbsdown.js file. First, we will be defining a React component and export it as a default export. Props is the name that we will give to the object that will hold all the information that someone passes into our component. Then we will do the destructuring. From a props object, we will get the value of the class name or an empty string if there's none given, and then everything else will go to the new object called rest. Then we will be returning the SVG. So with the thing we just copied before, we're actually going to just paste it here. As you can see, there is a lot of information here, but there is also a lot of stuff that won't be needed. So first, we can feel free and just remove the XMLNS. We can also remove all these G tags right here, as they won't be really needed. The main part we'll be looking at is actually just the path, which is right here. So we can feel free and just remove all these. After doing so, we're actually going to add a couple more things to our SVG. So in the first part, we're going to add class name equals class name. And then we're actually going to go to the end of this and we're going to just add the rest. By doing so, we have actually finished and used the things that we have already called. We will add the class name to let us style the icon from the outside with our CSS. Then also with the rest right here, it lets us spread all our other props to the other SVG. Then like before, we just import it and place these icons wherever we need. This is how the thumbs down will look like. And then if you actually go and do the same thing for thumbs up, this is how it will look like. Now that we have finished going through our imports, we can continue down with the code. Looking at our component, we will have a couple consts in here. Post, set post will be an array of post objects shown on the page. Skip, set skip is how many posts we have already fetched for pagination. Loading is whether or not we are currently fetching. Has more, set has more is if there are more data to load. And finally, has fetch initial is used as a flag to make sure we only auto fetch once on our mount. Then we can scroll down to some more refs, which are specifically used for the DOM node if the user scrolls. Then sentinel ref will be used to point to an invisible div at the bottom of our list. Basically, this will be used when it comes to the viewing of it. Later, when it views, we will fetch more for our infinite scroller. Then, user Haskell ref is a boolean where we flip after the user actually scrolls, so we don't have to auto load more just because the page is short. Now let's go through the fetch post function. This is the section where we will be calling an API from DummyJSON. If you look to the right, DummyJSON is a free, fake REST API for placeholder JSON data. This allows us to have instant DummyJSON data for our page without needing a backend. First, we can break down the specific URL from our code right here. If we scroll down in the DummyJSON, we have some top resources, and the one we will be using is for posts. The first part, if we look at the code, is just the https dummyjson.com/posts, and this is the basic endpoint to which we will request these posts. Then we have the query parameters, which is the second half of this URL. Limit equals 10 fetches 10 items per request, and then skip is how many to skip. First we will skip 0, 10 for the second, and it keeps going. You update the skip after each reload. Then we make the request with wait fetch. Fetch sends a get request to that URL, and then await pauses the function until the server responds. The next part relies the text, where .json converts that text into a real JavaScript object that you can use. This API gives us data.posts, which is an array of 10 object posts, and data.total, which is how many posts exist in total. Then we go down and we add fake dates, and random likes/dislikes for the UI of the user post. This will be a placeholder for a task that you will be able to code later. Then we use setPosts, which is right here, to store it in the React state. This will also add 10 new posts to the list. The React will re-render and your list will show the new posts. Finally, setHasMore will check if we still have more things to load, and setSkip will make it so that we skip the ones that we already have for next time. Finally, we have some catch errors just in case there are errors that may spam the server. The first use effect is used so that on the first render, it fetches the first page. This ref also prevents double fetching. The next one tracks whether the user actually scrolled. After the user scrolls greater than 100 pixels, it sets our user has scrolled flag. The passive listener is used for smoother scrolling. Finally, this last part is mainly used for our infinite scroll. It watches the sentinel div at the bottom when it's fulfilled these conditions, being near the viewport, we are not loading, there is more data, and the user has scrolled, then it loads the next page. And finally, it cleans up the observer on unmount. The final part is the UI, where we will be rendering the post and the sentinel. It loops through the posts and then prints each as a comment card. The key post.id helps React track list items. Then if we look at the bottom, the tiny div with sentinel ref at the bottom is our load more sensor. You can also see that inside we've added the imports that we have just talked about, such as the avatar, like, dislike, and reply icons. Let's quickly go through the CSS styling that will be used for this page. We will go to Style, go to About, and then About.css. There's quite a lot of CSS styling, but keep in mind that some of the CSS already in this file will actually be used for later parts of this video. I will scroll through really quickly, but after you finish, make sure you save your changes and then start your React app. This is now how your page should look. There will be 10 user posts first loaded on your page with a different user number, post description, and a randomly generated number for the like and dislike. Now if we go to the bottom, you'll see that in a few seconds it will actually load more onto the page. We will be updating this in a future video to improve user interaction with this. Now it is your turn to add your own code to this project. As you see, we have actually already set up the like, the dislike, and the reply. It will be up to you to create the functionality for the like, dislike, and a way to reply to the pages. Feel free to go about this task in whatever way you would like. That's all for this video. To summarize what we have gone through this video, we've worked on our About page where we created a user post log that has an avatar. Inside the post, we have a user number, likes, dislikes, and a reply button. We also have a description that uses DummyJSON to help provide data for our posts. We will continue to add to our user posts to add extra user clarity, as well as working with our utils folder to show our card creation time. Thank you, and I will see you later.